Yes, sir. We are in the building, in in progress, in
We
progression.
here. We here.
We here, man. We doing it, man. I just letting it flow off the top of the dome, man. But this is Kyle Means, editorial director, War Media, with two of my best men here, my homeboys, Saul Rodriguez and Joe Champ Tanksley,
What's going
kicking
on?
it off with a standout war super show. I'm calling it just a special broadcast here on this Monday. Uh, I've done the Monday shows, back in the fall, the Mondays with Means. This is the first time I've been on Monday since then, like since the end of last year. I've been, had urge to get on once or twice on a Monday, but I didn't pull the trigger. But I felt that today would be a good day to bring back a Monday show. The coming off of the NFL draft. We're gonna recap that. You can see on our title. We're gonna recap that from mostly from the vantage point of the Bears. Of course, we've all covered the Bears. We all met covering the Bears this past year at Soldier Field, and we're gonna look into that for about a half hour, and then we're gonna bring in another one of our war compadres, Chris Pennant. He's gonna come on. He's normally, you hear him on our basketball show Running with War, but of course he's a big White Sox guy too. So I'm pairing him against Saul, who's a Cubs guy.
Go White Sox.
And we're gonna have it out a little bit before the Crosstown series kicks off tomorrow. The first installment of that this year with Cubs and Sox. Of course, they're gonna be fighting for supremacy in the city, but neither team has been supreme really this season. But it's gonna be some interesting dynamics involved because of that. I think with each team trying to get some sort of momentum going, some sort of consistency going. But that'll be like I said, on the back half of this next hour. We'll be doing that. But let's start off, like I said, with the Bears, with the NFL draft. And gentlemen, I don't know how you guys were looking over the draft this weekend and everything. I kind of stayed with it throughout the entire way. And the Bears, looking at what the Bears did, I think there's as typical with the Bears, there's some good and some bad. There's there's some things you could be, you can be encouraged about, but some things you want to question naturally as well. Of course, I think the biggest question for followers of the team is, longtime followers of the team, is that this was a draft that was one of the main headlines, one of the main storylines of the draft is depth at wide receiver. And you're the Bears. You're a team that you have a young guy at supposed franchise quarterback. You want to build. You seemingly want to build the offense around, and there's a draft where there's like a couple dozen guys who people feel maybe can be game changers at wide receiver, and the Bears don't mess with any of them. They mess with a 25-year-old dude from Tennessee as their only wide receiver pick. But they did a lot of other things that we could expect them to do. They addressed, Ryan Poles and his scouts addressed that offensive line, mainly on the third day with a bunch of backloading of picks that they acquired during that day. They really tended to the defensive backfield, which was something that nobody was really asking them to do. But
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying outwardly, people weren't like, people were more about, get a wide receiver, tend to the O line. But, we'll get into it. Like I said, I'm glad. I'm really glad with what they did with those first two picks in practice. But I think a lot of people still feel like you tended to this while not tending to what most people were looking for you to tend to. So I mean, I'll just let it go. I'll just let it go. Then I'll cede the floor. You know what?
What
Joe? What were your thoughts on what they did, and what do what your belief in what they and how they addressed certain things on the team, certain needs and whatnot.
Well, when you look at, we were at Soldier Field. The secondary play was atrocious. It was
Yes,
bad. It stank. It stank. It was hard garbage. All right, they were wet pieces of tissue. It was bad. And so when you look at what they did with their second round picks, they got guys that could come in and play right away. All right.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing, Joe. And not only did they get guys who are good, they got two starters.
Right. They got guys that can play right away. All right. And you think about that. You think about a draft class. You got 11 players on that defense, and you got two guys in the draft that's going to start this year. So I commend them for that. And when you look at it, when you just look about with the history of just the Bears team, you can, it's really hard to find a solid defensive back play in the later rounds. But you can, sometimes look around and find a receiver in the 4th or 5th round, and that can be solid for you. We've gone through, all the projects of Kendall Vildor and how trash he was, and the Duke Shelleys and all those guys. They got some good frontline talent, and to come and show up that secondary, that's important. That's important.
But Joe, did you not believe? And I think with some of the reporting that's come out from the weekend, I think it's sort of been revealed. In particular, the Bears Wire with USA Today, Allison Barbieri wrote a nice piece about this, where essentially polls probably felt that they were reaching no matter where they were going to go with a receiver in the second round. Now, from the I'm just voicing from the fans' point of view and from what I was seeing on Twitter and social media during Friday, excuse me, and Saturday as well, but mostly Friday. That's when the Bears picks were talking about. You still had, Watson was gone, the North Dakota kid who a lot of people are high on. You still had Pickens in there from Georgia. You still had Sky Moore. You still had Pierce from Cincinnati. Some of these guys, I mean, these are, like I say, because of what the draft was at that position, people were thinking that these were sort of like first round talents, and these were like starters, essentially, especially for the Bears, given their weakness at wide receiver. That these are guys that the Bears could start at wide receiver. Did you feel that they were reaches, Joe, or did you just think that they weren't as much of a priority as something like the defensive backfield?
I think as far as when you talk about priority on a football team, having a solid secondary is paramount. You got to be able to have guys that can cover. Like I said before, you can always go in the later rounds and find guys to run and catch balls, and you're more likely to be able to find a solid receiver in the later round than you are able to find a solid DB in the later round. Is what I'm saying. The talent, the drop off from the first 2-3 rounds from DBs down to the 4th or 5th round is dramatic. But there's less of a drop off at the receiver position in those later rounds. Now, I know that Bayless. Sorry, I don't know how to say his name. I've been learning. I know Bayless Jones was kind of a shock because he came out of nowhere. And you mentioned this, his age. He's going to be turning 25 this month, but this is a player that's got great speed, great size, great athletic ability, and and given the road that he's had to travel to get to his dream, I think he's going to come in hungry and be ready to make an immediate impact, especially in the return game. We still got free agency left to kind of shore up that receiver position, but I'm happy with the first two picks so far.
So what are your thoughts on, like I said, the Bears wind up with 11 picks overall, and a much deeper draft than they had any right to have, given that they came in with I believe 5 picks. But of course the high profile picks are those first 2 picks. Were you happy with what they addressed in those picks, or were you like, man, I'd have liked to have seen some sort of offensive weaponry acquired?
No, yeah. I did see. Yeah, it was. I like the aggressiveness. Now I know, like I was talking to some other Bears fans about that, and there's like the aggressiveness is not enough for when it comes to being a Bears fan. You want to see results at the end of the day. But when it comes to how they turned, the 5 or 6 picks, they turned them into 11. I mean, that was at least something positive, and I like that the Velus Jones pick, as you were saying. Obviously, he's being 25 years old. And I have heard with him being like a specialist, and that he's really fast. So at least I see him being like, as you guys said, a more immediate impact. I did like, the picks that we had. I know that they picked also the center from Illinois. I feel like, I'm like, at that point, you get a guy like that who's, knows, has a lot of experience there at that position in Doug Kramer. And, but no, I would have liked to see more offensive weapons. I know a lot of people were complaining about that. And also the one, obviously, the whole picking the punter to at the end did not get received very well from anyone.
You mentioned Doug Kramer, and what I like about what they did with the O-line picks, with the guys they drafted guys who played in the zone run scheme in college, so they picked people that were comfortable with the zone run scheme to come and compete with the guys that they have this year. And so I think that's going to make for a better football team and a better O-line, going forward into the season, to have that competition and having people who are comfortable playing those positions and knowing what to do in that scheme, and what the concepts are. So it's going to be a little bit, quicker for those guys to catch on because they're used to that scheme.
Like you say, Joe, they drafted like a whole new line potentially. Like,
right, exactly.
They got 5 guys,
and they drafted guys, with some versatility and with some athleticism, and they got some developmental projects as well. The one person that I'm interested in is the Dominic Robinson. It Dominic Robinson out of Miami, Ohio? 6'4", 253. Used to be a receiver. And now he's played defensive end for the last couple of years, so he's definitely a project. He's raw at the position, but
see, when I saw his measurables, though, Eric Edholm said that on Twitter. He's the first person to mention that on Twitter that I saw. I was like, "What? They can't, reverse him back." 6'4", receiver,
but 6'4", 253.
Yeah, I'm saying, man,
253 pounds, 41-inch vertical jump. At least tight end, right?
Yeah. But he looked. They some of that the footage that they showed of him, rushing. He's like I say, pretty quick, and he's a guy. If he
long arms too.
Yeah. So if he's a guy who's going to get downhill on these and get scoop past these tackles and stuff and get to the quarterback, that's for one, that's a big of an impact as you can have on the football field. As big as even him being a wide receiver, and it's a way for him to get a lot of money in the league if he
Well, here's the thing.
turns to be especially good.
Well, here's the thing. You only draft a player like this if you plan on keeping Robert Quinn around, because who better to learn the position from than a vet like Robert Quinn? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I think if I'm Dominic Robinson and I'm coming into Bears camp, I'm asking Robert Quinn, can I stay with you? Can you know what I'm saying? Can I just be around you? Can you know what I'm saying? Can I hold your equipment? This is the guy that you need to learn from. Right, get the game from, so I'm really intrigued with how he's going to end up.
Yeah, and I was going to say real quick about Robert Quinn. I did, hearing about him being shopped around. When I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't think the Bears are going to get what they want from out of a deal. I feel like they would benefit more of keeping him right now. As you said, like he could teach the young dudes, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that I feel like would benefit the Bears at this point because they're in obviously they're in the transitional phase. So I feel like keeping him at this point might be more beneficial than, trying to scramble and find a deal, before the first game of the season.
Yeah, if he could manage to stay healthy and they can keep him healthy,
yeah,
he might be one of those trade deadline, dudes that you send, to go compete as a nice gesture. So
right, try to do something like Denver did with Von Miller this year. Find a contender and get some picks and stuff out of them. That could be the situation. But I agree with you, Joe. Like going into I think they would have traded him by now if they were really like, well, let's see what we can get now. If the Bears were being aggressive, say in trying to get a receiver in this draft or a receiver in free agency, or
exactly
trade like a veteran receiver, I should say. That's what you would try to do with Quinn, but keeping them past this draft period now, it's like, yeah, why deal him now? Yeah, and you mentioned too, Joe, like there are a few receivers that are out there. Like for those of us who are still thirsty off the receiver,
right?
Like there are a few out there. Odell Beckham is sort of at the top of the list. That's sort of a wishful thinking thing there. Also, you're dealing with his injuries and stuff.
Right.
But there's a few: Emmanuel Sanders, Jarvis Landry. There's a few guys out there who could make an impact on this team right away. But you're not looking really at that type of long arm, long legged sort of X receiver that you're mostly looking at more slot guys and speed guys, which the Bears have sort of already tended to in this offseason with Byron Pringle and stuff like that. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. They also picked up quite a few receivers and other players on this undrafted free agency market. There's a number of guys they picked up. I don't know if any of you guys have kept up on that, but there's options. There'll be options, and we'll see right away at the end of this week. They'll have the rookie mini camp going, so maybe there'll be a chance right away for some guys to show themselves at Hallis Hall and maybe break out a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Darnell Mooney, the thing about Darnell Mooney now is that if you don't get any, that's why a lot of people obviously wanted the more wide receivers, and they got Pringle obviously, which is nice. But obviously I don't know I think he got arrested last week or was it 2 weeks ago? So hopefully it doesn't what happens,
Yeah, doing a little bit of reckless driving. Now I'm worried now they're gonna find he get into town, they're gonna find him on Lower Wacker with all them other kids now.
But I'm saying like in that case, like that's the type of guy I wanted to like have like as a complimentary to Mooney, because obviously if you didn't bring anyone, which again there's still time to bring in more, then they're just gonna crowd Mooney, and then Mooney, you're not gonna be able to get a ball to Mooney, and it's gonna make it more difficult for Fields. So yeah, hopefully Emmanuel Sanders would be nice, somebody nice to bring in, because I feel like he helped Josh Allen so much over there. I feel like and I feel like he would be really good for a guy like Fields.
What do y'all think? There's been some rumblings that Akeem Hicks may actually get back into the fold with the team. Do you think that's something the Bears should prioritize?
I mean, at the right price, you know what I'm saying? He's definitely a veteran leader. And for what it's worth, I really do, listening to his speak and during his time with the Bears, I think he really enjoyed being in Chicago, and I think he really enjoyed the fans. So for the right price, I would entertain it. I do know that scheme wise, he's more comfortable in that 3-4 technique. That's something that he wasn't really good at while he was in New Orleans playing that 5 technique tackle. So, but it's something that he's done before and can do. So, and I don't know with his age is, would he want to switch schemes like that, or would he want to go with, what best suits him and what fits him. But, if he stays in Chicago, he doesn't have to move and, pack up things. So that's worth a lot, for somebody who's settled.
Definitely,
I remember a lot of his press conferences were all people always talking about his future and how he wanted to, if he wanted to stay here. And he was always very passionate about like how much he liked playing here, how much he liked teaching the young dudes and stuff like that. So yeah, it is true. Like you said, as long as they bring him back at a reasonable price. But I don't know. I don't think I would see it as necessary to bring him back. I know I have seen. I think it was Eddie Jackson that said that he was urging the Bears to get him back, trying to get him back. But yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't mind the Bears.
Eddie might not be back.
I know, right? Yeah, right. That's
it. Eddie used to watch his own. He watches his own yard for now.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you never know. You never know. But that's again. Going back to where we started. I think there's a lot to be encouraged about. If these two kids, we didn't really mention them by name. Kyler Gordon is the cornerback from Washington. Was the first pick at 39. It was 48, I believe. Was the second pick was Brusker. Forget his first name.
Brisker from Penn
State. From Penn State. So you look at Gordon, he's sort of similar in some ways, definitely playing in that Pac-12, to Jalen Johnson, who we picked up last year. You really could, this is a good thing. You can slot him in right on the other side of Johnson. You got two young guys who can grow with each other, only a year apart. And hopefully lock down those cornerback positions, those starting cornerback positions from years to come. And then Brusker, looks like a lot of nice physicality from him. A guy who can, they mentioned him as sometimes like another linebacker in some ways. And when Bears fans see a safety play like that, you think of like Mike Brown and people like that who was in the past who have really made an impact here. If he can occupy the middle of the field like a Mike Brown or maybe not like a Mark Carrier or somebody like that, that could be like a really getting back to good old Bears defensive football like we like to see that we grew up with.
Yeah, I was listening to another sports radio station this morning, and I'm going to credit him. I think it was Ant Herron who was talking about these picks. He was on I forget what show it was, but it definitely was Ant Herron, and he was saying,
shout out to big Ant Herron.
You're talking about a guy in Kyler Gordon, who played 4 years at Washington and never picked up a penalty. And then Jaquan Brisker played 2 years at Penn State without a penalty. So, you think about the discipline issues that the Bears have had, this past last season, and all the goofy penalties and the things that just shot themselves in the foot where they couldn't get off the field, and taking a break. but now they got to stay on, and they end up giving a touchdown the next play. You bring in some guys that have some discipline and know how to play. With to the edge of the limit without going over there, and so that's what I like. That's what I like about these guys.
That made me think right away that Flus was, getting his point across of who he wanted in that draft room. Like we gotta get, like you say, guys who are disciplined, guys who can play without reaching and without doing stupid things on the field. He got his own type of guys that he knows he wants to coach, and I think those. I would guess that Brusker and Gordon are two guys really that he's going to be happy to coach, for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but about the penalties, as you were saying, Joe, how I heard that also on I think they were talking about it on 670, the score, and they were saying how that they got a lot of guys that hadn't gotten any penalties in college, and I'm just thinking to myself, with all the penalties the Bears got this year, I don't think that's a problem, because they were saying like, maybe they question the aggressiveness when they don't of them not having a lot of penalties, but it's like, yeah, I mean, you kind of want guys to be disciplined at the same time.
Well, when you talk about aggressiveness, there's a way to play without doing that. And when you talk about Gordon, he hasn't allowed a touchdown and 722 coverage snaps at Washington, and this is credited from USA Today, but off the Bears wire. But 722 coverage snaps, has not allowed a touchdown. So this is a lockdown corner who's playing aggressively and isn't getting penalized. So I think that's a good pickup for the Bears.
Yeah, they definitely can't overlook that. And we, like I said, we got too used to inconsistent and unorganized or undisciplined play under Nagy, and that if that can be turned around in any type of way, that'll be definitely a blessing. Right quick, before we wrap up the football side of this show, was there anything else about the draft, outside of the Bears that caught y'all interest, or from the first round and everything, or some of the big name picks?
Well, I'm just interested to see how it was a very strange draft, because usually you have these big runs and quarterbacks in the draft, and you didn't really see that. That was interesting to me this year. People kind of played it safe on these quarterbacks, Malik Willis and Pickett out of Pitt. People stayed safe for the most part. I am interested to see how Ritter is going to pan out in Atlanta. He's been given the opportunity to come in and play right away with Matt Ryan going to Indianapolis. So I'm interested to see if his game translates to the NFL coming from Cincinnati. That was pretty much it. Do
you think that my man from Liberty, that he got overlooked a little bit too much, Malik Willis, or do you think he winds up in Tennessee, which could be a really good spot for him?
Yeah, it could be. I think that's probably the best spot. I think there were some teams who definitely could have used him, who shouldn't have overlooked him. But at the same time, I kind of understand why he's playing football at Liberty.
He didn't start there though.
That's true, but I think that he does have some things that he has a very high ceiling, and I think maybe if he was 2 inches taller, he definitely would have been a lock to go a lot earlier. But it is what it is. Sometimes things happen for a reason. In Tennessee, with that running game and the way that they play and with the physicality, they're going to do a lot to help him develop and come along. So it's really not going to be all on his shoulders right away. to come in and make plays and win games with his arm and with his QB acumen. He really has the foundation in front of him to succeed. With a strong offensive line play, as far as running the ball, and that being his best friend. So we'll see.
What we think of some of the rivals, man? Minnesota kind of pissed me off, man, trading with Green Bay so they could get Watson right before the Bears, man. That's some collusion to me. So and plus, they ain't supposed to be working with each other anyway. So I don't understand that. I'm trying to get a grip on that.
Yeah, I you know what? That was kind of shady, and I think that was definitely. I think when you say collusion, Kyle, I really think that was some collusion. And why? Why? The Bears are really rebuilding. So like here's the thing. Like, I don't get it. Minnesota and Green Bay, they get both teams, that could possibly make the playoffs. But then you go back and see, was it Minnesota who traded with Detroit again? Was it that? Didn't Minnesota traded? Somebody traded the first round.
Did they trade with Detroit? They probably did.
I think they traded with Detroit too, and didn't get the value that they needed to do for they pick. So, Minnesota did a lot of goofy things.
Yeah. You know what? I think because I remember some mention. There was somebody that said that Quasi they knew GM. They like. He was getting bullied or something to do with these trades. Like I don't know. Like it's something funny about what and like I said, they ain't want the Bears to eat none. So I don't know. Like I said, I think it's some collusion. Detroit, they mess up their stuff anyway. But they wound up getting
Detroit got a solid. Detroit has a solid class, and they didn't mess up.
They got I think they got Will Jameson, right? Yeah, so
yeah,
but they always get wide receivers though, and they don't do nothing with them except make them retire.
That's true. That's true. Now Charles Rogers.
They got St. Brown. St. Brown. I don't know if they drafted him. Did they draft St. Brown, or is that did they?
Who?
Detroit.
Amon Ra.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. I'm saying, did they draft him, or is that somebody they drafted? Because that might have been.
I think they did.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, that's not a good sign.
Remember that run? They went like 4-5 years. They drafted a wide receiver in the top 10, and ain't none
Mike
of them
Williams, Charles Rogers.
Megatron.
Yeah, Mike Williams, Charles Rogers. Then it was, I think, what's the dude from Texas?
Roy Williams,
and then Megatron.
Yeah.
So
that's Detroit for you, man. But like I say, as long as it's two franchises that they make you feel better about being a Bears fan. Typically, is Detroit and the Giants. But the Giants had a good draft too this year. So, but they still got Daniel Jones at least. So it make you feel a little bit better about being a Bear. Oh, one more thing. But we got Chris about to come on, and we're gonna get into this baseball stuff. But you mentioned Pickett, and he's going to Pittsburgh. Do you think that there's some mention of Trubisky being put in a position that Mike Glennon was put in here in Chicago now? Do you think he being done bogus like that in Pittsburgh?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I actually that's kind of disrespectful to Mitch. I think Mitch is 10 times better than Mike Glennon.
Yeah, that's true. But the position may be similar.
Yeah, I mean the position is the position that they in is similar, but I think with Najee Harris and that run game that Pittsburgh has, I think Trubisky has a real shot to stick, and and Pickett, he's still a rookie, saying, and Mitch, even though he is what he is, saying he's been through it, he's been through it. And he knows he should know what he's looking at now and what he's up against. So I'd give the edge to Mitch right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like, Mitchell Trubisky's been through so much over here. I'm like, give the guy a chance. A friend who's a Steelers fan, and I'm like, and he was like, "Oh man, what am I getting with this guy?" And it's like, "Yo,"
and we now know that it really wasn't all his fault.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like trying to tell him, like, put him under center with the new coach. You know, you got Tomlin. Like, see, just give him a year. I think he could take this team to the game solely because they have a great defense and and great offense in general. But he's gonna go to the playoffs with them if he starts with them. That's what I believe.
And they gave him weapons. They got weapons for him too. They already had some there, and they got some more in the draft. So the coaching is better there. So it's Mitch is due for a win. He got put out there.
I think when Mitch is a football kind of guy, and I think Tomlin is a guy that is not going to be messing with his head. He's going to keep things simple for him, and I think there was with Nagy, it was too much coach speak and 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 too much ego involved in things to really for Mitch to really be successful. And Mike Tomlin has been at it a long time, and he's about winning football games. Never had a losing season, so what kind of coach you're getting. He's about winning, and he and his coaching staff are going to do what's necessary to put Mitch in the position to win. And if Mitch is not the guy, they'll definitely move on. But I think they're going to give Mitch a real shot.
Definitely. Well, like I said, we gonna transition over. Saul staying with us, but Joe, of course, you see the tag there, Bad Man Tanksley on Twitter and IG. Definitely could keep up with him, and definitely keep up with him on all our WARR programming. When we get back closer to the season, definitely gear up with some more football talk, and Joe will be involved, and hopefully we'll be back up in Soldier Field again next season. We'll see how it goes, but
no doubt.
Until then, you got anything you want to say, Joe?
I'll say go Bears, man. Keep wearing those masks. Wash your hands.
Joe dealing with a little under the weather, so we thank you for soldiering on.
Right.
I think some of his kids that he teach got him sick, but
no doubt. But yeah, man, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And go White Sox.
Joe was firmly on the White Sox tip too, so we got our lines drawn as we bring Chris in. Joe, we'll send you off on that one. We know where you got what side of town you residing on. Chris is replacing you on the Sox agenda, and Saul, who does such a good job co-hosting our At Bat podcast. You see it right there alongside his face, right there in his box. Our baseball podcast really been popping off well with our first few episodes. You can stream it. You can watch it on Spotify as well as YouTube, and you can listen to it through all other podcast platforms that we distribute with WARR on Anchor. But Saul and Miles Porter doing a great job there. And Chris, man, thanks for coming on, man. Like I said, you usually talking ball with us, talking hoop with us on running. But I know you and I've done some stuff with you too on baseball in the past as well. So you're a passionate baseball fan, passionate Sox fan. And, we got tomorrow coming up 2 games at Wrigley Field, the Sox and the Cubs. Now, after today with a win, really nice win today for the Sox. Dylan Cease, maybe his best game as a White Sox, but he's really starting to establish himself as a premier pitcher in the American League. And, maybe as it is right now, the ace of the Sox staff due to the injuries and everything. But, the Sox still under 500, I believe 9-13 with the win today. And the Cubs actually, both teams have the same record, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the moment, 9-13.
Mm-hmm.
So they come into this series, same records. Now, if you look at from the Cubs' point of view, you may, be cool with a 9-13 record in these first 20 or so games. With the Sox, I don't think anybody is really too happy right now with how things have started exactly. But I'll leave it to you, Chris. From your observations of these first 22 games, man, what do you think about the Sox? And what's your diagnosis right now?
It's real early. I'll say that. I think if you follow social media, then you're going to put yourself in a hole. And this is not to denigrate anybody on social media, but it is a haven for quick takes, hot button sound bites, this, that, and what have you. And the general mindset of White Sox fans is that we're always one bad season away from being mediocre again. So when you have an 8-game losing streak in the beginning of the season, and then, you lose 8 out of 10 in a season where you're expecting to compete for a championship. You had the last 2 seasons in the playoffs, the first time in team history, you went to the playoffs back-to-back years. You lived through these seasons where we officially the team said, okay, we're on a rebuild. We're doing that to do this. And then you start the season off pretty hot. They won 6 of their first 9. They won their first 3 series. Then they lost 8 in a row. And everybody went to the edge of the ledge. They saw what was down there. And I think everybody got upset and scared. And there's a lot of good baseball people, good minds out there. And even some of those people, I think, were either more drawn to just sarcastic Twitter takes in order to shield themselves from the possible pain of a trash season, rather than it's April or it's coming into May. Over the last couple games, the Sox, they've won 2, they've lost 2 in the series with Anaheim. But in the big picture, the Angels came in 5 or 6 games over 500. So splitting a series with them is pretty decent. Some of the ways that they lost were indicative of how the season started. They didn't get to Michael Lorenzen, who is a journeyman dude with a giant upper body, until the 9th inning on Sunday. So that's not good. The Angels had a bullpen day and they lost that game 5-1, but they shut out a pretty good squad 2 out of those 4 games. Dylan Cease is lighting things up at the beginning of the season. He has been the one true consistent bright spot of the staff. And they've started hitting the ball hard again. In that game that they lost on Friday, they had 7 batted balls of over 100 miles per hour. I think my friend said the expected batting average on a lot of those was above 900. And I was at that game. I saw a lot of balls die at the warning track. It's not anything about the Chicago weather because the Angels hit 2 home runs on Friday, so you can't blame that at all. But this bad start magnified with the fact that the Royals started pretty well, the Twins have started very well, and Cleveland has started pretty well, is really magnified. So what's really going to start telling is these next couple of weeks as you get into May, playing the Cubs, playing Boston, playing the Yankees in the middle of the month, solid teams who are really going to have to fight for their division because that AL East is going to be a dogfight, hopefully until September. 4 teams are vying for 2 spots. And so the Sox have to prove that they can play with those guys because last season they couldn't. They couldn't keep up with Houston. They couldn't keep up with Tampa Bay. They couldn't necessarily keep up with the Yankees, even though the Yankees got bounced by Boston. So you got to get yourself out of this mess. And then you have to prove that you can play with the big boys as well as play with your own division. So I see a light at the end of the tunnel, but the Sox have to really kind of prove that they can get there. They have to prove that they're themselves again.
Yeah. And Sala on the north side, like it's, the expectations, of course, will come into the season a lot different than they were on the south side. You pretty much just got a jumble of players together. Cubs were actually pretty active in free agency in the offseason, both before and after the lockout. And they they just are a team that is putting themselves together in a strictly rebuilding mode. But you have some nice sparks coming, really from the very beginning of the season, with Suzuki, being like a revelation, and some nice play here and there. Coming off of their last performance on Sunday, they finally get to see a bit of Marcus Stroman that they were hoping to see coming into the season with a nice performance up in Milwaukee. But pretty much, I ain't gonna put words in your mouth, but is this the team that you expected to see coming into this season, or is what are your thoughts overall?
First of all, nice to meet you, Chris. For even though it's virtual, but nice to meet you.
So what's going on?
Yeah. Definitely, man. This is I will say, even up to this point, I'm a little surprised that they have 9 wins. I'm not even gonna lie, because the starting pitching, I think, was probably not necessarily like a question. It's not you were wondering, but you were wondering what Hendricks you were going to see. You were wondering if Smiley was going to pitch, or Wade Miley hasn't even pitched for them. So
Yeah.
I didn't expect much out of the rotation. Obviously did not expect Stroman to have the first few starts that he had. I know his opening series one against the Brewers wasn't bad, but he rattled off a couple struggling starts. But no, yeah, definitely this is the type of team I expected to see. Suzuki, he was really good in Japan. He was like probably the best player in Japan in the past 6 seasons. So I didn't expect maybe him to jump off as he has, obviously Rookie of the Month. But it is something worth watching, right? It's like if you're a casual Cubs fan, you might tune in now because Suzuki's going off and doing stuff like that. But yeah, the Cubs were expected to win under 75 games maybe from a lot of people. But I'm kind of more on the side that it might pull off 76, 77, nothing impressive. But for a team that's, where they're at, I think that would be impressive. And another thing that's been impressive for them has been their bullpen. And I think the type of young guys that they put together, or whether it be Afros or Roberts, who just went on the injured list. But I feel like those guys will be part of the next, great Cubs team because they've shown, some really, good signs. But ultimately, yeah, and to feed off what Chris was saying about the White Sox, yeah, I'm not for 1 minute am I worried about the White Sox. I think the injuries hurt them. I know overall they're not playing that well. I know whether it be their pitching as a whole doesn't help. Obviously, the injuries don't help, but that they're struggling to get on base. But I'm not at all worried about the White Sox. I think they're going to come back, and I think the Royals, too good to be true. The Twins are the ones that maybe should worry about a little bit. But regardless, this series starting tomorrow is going to be really good against these two teams.
What type of series, or it's 2-game series, so it's a little bit more of a like I say, more of a snack than like one of the weekend series that you may get with these, or just a later in the year when they meet again, there's going to be probably a little bit more pressure involved. But with these particular 2 games coming up, what are y'all expecting to see? Like, of course, in general with the Cubs and the Sox is one of those series you could throw the records out, as they say. But what are we expecting to see in these next couple games?
If I could go first, so
Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting because, like you said, Saul, we were wondering if Drew Smiley's going to pitch. Drew Smiley's had such a harried career since his promising start with, was it the Tigers back in the early 2010s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was so promising, and then injuries just derailed like the last 4 or 5 seasons that he had. I'm looking on Baseball Reference. The last time he pitched against the White Sox was in 2019 with the Phillies. And, that was kind of a prove it type year for him. So he started off the season okay, just kind of feeling it out. But the White Sox, the way that they've been hitting, it could go either way. So I think looking at the pitching matchup, the hitting matchup, just for that game, it's going to be interesting to see how the Cubs approach Michael Kopech, he's not Javier Vasquez in terms of like the strikeouts, because he's not striking out that many guys. He's got strikeout stuff. He had a 7 strikeout performance at Minnesota in 5 innings, which is solid. But I said last week that he's the guy who you'll watch him pitch and you'll be like, how is anybody going to hit this? And you might go and flip some stakes or something. You'll come back and he'll have 80 pitches through 3 2/3. He doesn't attack the strike zone that you would like to see a guy with his kind of stuff do. The way Dylan Cease is doing now, I think Kopech is a little bit Dylan Cease of 2 seasons ago. And Jason asked Cease that quite a question pointedly during a Kopech start. And, Dylan Cease is a pretty quiet, kind of reticent guy. He didn't want to attach that. He didn't want to say like, yeah, I see the same things. And I respect that because I think he wants him to grow up his own way. But you'd like to see him attack the strike zone. And the Cubs, I don't know their exact batting average, Saul. You could elaborate on this when I finish up. But if he walks guys, then he's going to be in trouble, point blank period. This is the age where walks are going to hurt you. The Cubs are hitting, not exceptionally well, save for that 21-run game. But I think they're still a team who can hurt you if you put them on base. I'm looking at these last few games. They've got kind of the same thing as the Sox, a lot of 1-run, 2-run outputs. But still, that's going to play out. And then for Smiley, he's a guy that is trying to find his footing again. And he's not going to strike out a bunch of guys. He's not going to walk a bunch of guys. And the Sox haven't really proven yet that they can hit a major league fastball with consistency. I don't, I don't want to kick the question, but I don't know, because I think the Sox could put up 6. I think the Sox could get shut out because that's what they've been doing the last week and a half. And I think the Cubs could win 2. I think the Cubs could lose 2 just these next 2 games. I wouldn't be surprised to see a split. I'll say that much. I think these 2 teams are about the same level right now. This season these 2 series are not going to make the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams split at either place. A lot of it, I think, is actually going to depend on the bullpens.
Yeah, no, you nailed it, because I think when you look at the pitching matchups, looking at the pitching matchups right now, with Kopech going and Giolito, it favors the White Sox. Obviously, it the one thing that would make me say it's going to be that they're going to split 1-1 is probably just because it's at Wrigley. But even then, Hendricks has never really pitched well against the White Sox. He pitches well at home, but when you look at those numbers, like for example, Jose Abreu career batting average 591 against Hendricks. That's he had that 3 home run game. I believe it was against Hendricks. And then he had, I think, like 5 home runs in that series, maybe even more. I think it was in 2020. So the pitching matchups favor the White Sox, but I think just because the Cubs are at home, it might be 1-1. But no, as you were saying, the Cubs, so they led the league in batting average for a couple weeks. But obviously, I did not buy that whatsoever. He was a Cubs fan. I was like, that's fluky, whatever. Even the 21 runs, obviously, it put them back up. It was between them, because if you look at the top 2 teams that were leading for a while, it was like Colorado and the Cubs. It's like the Colorado played most of their games at home in April. So again, fluky. But as of now, they're at 6th, so they're going down already. So, but no, I think it'll be a split ultimately, with the Cubs winning the first one. I think they'll somehow run into some runs against Kopech, but I think Giolito will outpitch Hendricks. As much as I've seen Giolito struggle against the Cubs a couple of times, I think he's on right now. He looked really good when he came back, faced the Twins. I think it's going to be a split ultimately, but it's going to be a good series. It's always a good series. And I was gonna say when you said it was gonna be 2 games, yeah, it's tough. I do not like when it's only 2 games.
The midweek series.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
midweek series.
It's kind of awkward.
Yeah. I think they say something about like it can't be 3 and like something about like, you know, when the teams are, I don't even know. I like heard like some theories about why they do that, and it's just like, oh, come on. But I hope that next year with the balanced schedules that they're able to split it a little better.
The scheduling there's a lot of weird stuff with baseball and scheduling. Like you mentioned the thing with Colorado, and I didn't know that, but it made me think of something with the Sox where I saw this mentioned on Twitter. I think interestingly enough, Adam Hogue may have had tweeted this, but the Sox up until this point, they haven't played outside of a radius like within the Midwest. Like it's been they haven't really they haven't traveled outside the Midwest. The Sox had, so they played in nothing but cold, no bad weather for these first 5-6 weeks of the season, and it's like these things affect people in various ways. It probably doesn't affect the whole team the same way, but you wonder about things like that. Maybe if they had a chance to travel to Texas or California, maybe they would have lit up a little bit more in one of those series or something. But just like I say, playing all these weird, like playing in these freezing temperatures in Detroit and Cleveland and here, and it's like, like I said, Chris, you mentioned what happened this weekend. There was definitely some hits where you could see the ball was kept in the park at the rate, but of course, with the Angels, they were able to hit it out, but they also have 2 of the best hitters of their generation over there, on that side. So it's hard to compare in some ways, but the Sox do have a potent lineup, but it just makes me think about, if they had more of a balanced schedule, as it were, would that have meant a difference in 1 or 2 games at least? I don't know.
It's funny you say that because Ohtani had one of those, but I think the other one was Taylor Ward, who had a really nice start to the season for the Angels.
Yeah.
Mike Trout had a pretty quiet series, and matter of fact, he struck out 4 times today. He got the golden sombrero, so that's a testament to definitely built Dylan Cease, but also what I really liked, Liam Hendricks coming off the injured list after back spasms and striking
real
out
nice
3 straight.
inning for him today.
Yeah, he looked very good. I don't want to go to I don't want to feed into Sox Twitter because Steve Stone, for as polarizing as he is, he's right. We're a bunch of anhedonic people. We are not always very happy, and even our happiness is tempered by the thought of tomorrow, as bad as that sounds. It really is. Yeah. You're just waiting for the other. It's Chicago sports in general.
Yeah, Chicago sports.
Yeah, right.
The other shoe to drop so much if you're a White Sox fan, because you kind of lived in this. The Cubs fans they could point to fun times that didn't amount to much, or 1998, which was very fucking exciting, or 2003, which was just like everybody could feel that pain. The White Sox in that same span had 2000, which was quiet, and then 2005, which everybody's like, yo, stop leaning on. It's a lot, you know what I'm saying? But
Chris, right quick, I saw you tweeted, you compared the Bulls season this year to what, 2001?
No, I was saying the Sox slide felt like the 2001 White Sox season when they were absolutely just forgettably horrible. There was a game where they played the Mariners, and I won. I think I either won tickets or badgered my mom into going because they had kids Sundays where you could run the bases, and kids tickets were $1. And they won that game 2-1 in 14 innings. And I remember reading the next day that Paul Konerko was just saying, it's like, yo, this is absolutely no fun right now. There's nothing fun about playing. It didn't help that they were playing the eventual 116 win Mariners that weekend, but to struggle through a 14-inning game and win it 2-1 and then just be like, yo, this sucks. That's what that like week and a half stretch felt like. And so I think that one was tough because they had just gone to the playoffs the season before, and then the bottom completely fell out. So I will say that I'm waiting. This may be very telling because they're playing a lot of good teams. And if they just quietly fade away, then, if they win like 10 games if they win like 9 or 8 games out of this month, then you might call it a season. But people were talking last week about, jokingly, but somewhat seriously about like, yo, who could you get for Lucas Giolito? I'm like, bro, come on. Like, it's not time yet. Now, I want to go back to your original point. I don't want to use the excuse of it's cold because we say that every single year. And now the Sox just aren't hitting. They weren't hitting the ball with any authority. Teams were coming in and hitting the ball out of the ballpark. So at some point, you can't say that. I think that Frank Menachino is not the right guy as a hitting coach. I will say that. But if they need to start hitting the ball with authority like they have been. Then you're going to see the ball fly out of the ballpark, and then nobody's going to be talking about how cold and rainy it was in April and how we're going to get some like 50-degree days in the beginning of May. That's all I'm saying about that.
You know what I think could save the season? Southside hockey jersey giveaways the rest of the year. The people came out for those, man. Hey, they came out for those on Saturday, man.
Yeah, they always do the soccer ones. The soccer ones are dope too.
Yeah,
you got a new soccer jersey.
Yeah, the White Sox have done like a soccer jersey too, as well as a giveaway. It looked really nice.
I need to see that. I think I would do that better. I the hockey jerseys are cool. I think I would like the soccer one a little better.
They've done a few of those, and I think the one that I think 2 or 3 years ago, they did one that was red with like a Sox badge over the right breast. Mm-hmm. That one was tight. They've done really well with those soccer jerseys for sure. Did the Cubs do anything like that?
Not like soccer. No, they don't. No, that's why. I was like, man, I wish they would do that. And see, look, this is the rumor one for this year. Oh, it won't come up, I think. Oh,
you got
because of the green screen.
That's not too bad.
This is the rumored one for this year.
Oh, I like that.
WGN post that. But no, yeah, the Cubs don't do that. I wish they did. I think this year they did like a jersey giveaway. I think it might have been last year, but they did like a jersey giveaway. The Cubs never do like jersey giveaways because like I'm always like thinking, man, when they do a jersey giveaway, like I gotta go. But the Cubs barely give away bobbleheads, so it's like, but the White Sox. I go to plenty of White Sox games. I got that Liam Hendricks one, the Liam Hendricks bobblehead because that was sick with the Southside jersey. Nice. But no, just to say something else about the White Sox too is like, if I'm a White Sox fan, I'm probably thinking too, it's a good series to kind of get back on track is against the Cubs because the way the Cubs are pitching and the way the ball can fly at Wrigley when it's windy, like they could use this as a confidence booster. And I could definitely see them, coming in here and just kind of finding their feet a little bit, whether it's May, whether it's cold, whether the weather. Yeah, because I was going to say the weather thing too is like, you could say that, some people could say that, but at the end of the day, it's a team from Chicago who plays here every April, and it's like they have to go through this every year. So I don't know if I'd blame it on the weather, but a lot of things come into play. But I think the White Sox will be fine, and I think they might just find their footing in this 2-game series.
And you know what? Another thing, going back to the schedule. After the day that they have a travel day after this series, and they play like 10 days in a row with no break, and so that's going to be like you mentioned, Chris. That's going to be a tough stretch. They start out in Boston, and this is another thing too with the. I wanted to get your opinion on this with some of these new broadcasting things they're doing. They got them playing at 10:30 locally on Sunday with this new. Sunday games they got on Peacock. That they hired Jason Benetti to do these, which is a plus, of course. But I don't understand why they had these games so damn early. And the first one is the Sox and the White Sox at the Red Sox is at 10:30. It's gonna be at 10:30 in the morning. The first pitch. So I'll get that. But like I said, that's been one thing. I want to shout out the Apple broadcast though, because the Apple broadcast has been pretty cool. Like just the look of them. I don't know the restriction of it though, the exclusivity. You know, of course, that's something that Apple pays for, I'm sure, but I think that's something they need to work on and making that a little bit more available, at least to the local teams, where it's like you shouldn't. There shouldn't be the only option to watch those teams on Fridays when they have to do it. The Sox have already done it once. I don't know how many times the Cubs are going to do it, but like I said, I don't think that should be the only option on those nights when they play. But those, I will give it up for the broadcast themselves, the graphics and stuff. It's pretty clean if you watch any of those games.
I'll give you that. It's true.
Okay.
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was gonna say with the 10:35 one, I did not know that with the White Sox. I just saw that. I was thinking maybe it was like the whole Patriots Day, because you know how they have the Patriots Day game.
That's usually on a Monday. That's a Monday.
Yeah, right. No, that's why. That's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, but yeah, that makes no sense. 10:35 a.m. on a Sunday. I mean, I guess most people are home on a Sunday. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But no, yeah. But with the whole, I know a lot of people have been complaining about whether it be Apple TV. I know they have. I mean, MLB has a lot more deals than people realize. I think they have like games on. They're gonna have games on like Fubo TV, and I think a couple other streamers. They have like a whole list of them, but I think Hulu as well. But Apple TV has been really cool. Like just the way they've done everything. I know they have like playlists or they have like the song come on for the walk up song, which is pretty cool. But I will say this: the one thing I do, what you're saying makes sense. Like, there's a better way of doing it for the local fans. If like that's the only way you could watch it, like maybe Apple and NBC Sports Chicago for the White Sox or whatever. But I will say this too, is that with that, I still think it's fine. Like at first I was kind of like, man, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But then I thought to myself, there's plenty of people nowadays that don't have cable, and that's basically a paywall, because you got to pay for that nowadays. So like I don't, because there was a lot of outrage. Like I saw a video on TikTok. This guy was going crazy saying like, how is MLB gonna grow? Like I can't watch. Did you watch that game last night? Oh, because I couldn't. Blah blah blah. This. And I'm like, I understand. Like you're gonna have to get another subscription, but it's like it's just gonna add to what your other 10 subscriptions already. Like and Apple, for the record, Apple TV is $5 a month.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Apple's at least pretty cheap. They're not like Netflix. $20 a month.
Exactly. Yeah. So it could be worse. Games could, you know what I mean? But I definitely. Other than that, besides the paywall and all that stuff, they've done a really good job. The broadcasts have been different. I know they had Melanie Newman, I believe, for one of the games, and Steven Nelson. So it's really cool. I like it so far.
I want to, if I can offer a counterpoint, I'm tired of all these subscription services, man. Like I've never paid for cable myself, but we are getting to the point where it costs near as much. And
yeah, you're right.
That's fair
point. I think what really bugs me is something that my roommate, shout out to Rob Vanison, has brought up multiple times. The whole point of us getting these streaming services was that we would not have to deal with ads. Remember when TiVo came out and you're like, you can just slide past the ads. And then everybody was like, oh, well, I don't know where we're going to get revenue. Well, I know. Let's just put the ads back in. People won't complain. And we haven't. People have complained like quietly or in these rooms like we have. Like, I'm not going to call this a revolution moment, but at some point you got to just stand up and be like, no, I'm not doing it, bro. Like, Netflix keeps raising their prices month after month. I got Netflix because I was like, you know what? I've got money now. I can afford this. And my mom was still getting Netflix DVDs delivered. And I was like, yo, mom, just here's the password. You can watch Netflix at home. She was like, cool. She got rid of that delivery so fast. And she's been watching her Korean dramas. And a week ago, actually a couple days ago, she was like, yo, I'll give you some money to split because Netflix is raising their price again. Nah, but like, I'm trying to take care of my mom. Like, I cannot let this slide anymore.
I feel you
got Hulu. You watch sports on Hulu. How bad is the delay? Be real with me. It's like a 10-second delay. People will text me and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that home run. I'm still watching the at bat. Like, I'm 3 pitches behind.
Yeah,
There,
I have.
it's
Yeah,
so
I have watched Hulu. I'm a YouTube TV guy myself. I like.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do no commercial here, but I do like the way that they do sports better than Hulu, and they have the best thing. The real cool thing with, especially with baseball, is the highlights. The
Yeah.
where you could catch up on a game through the highlights. You
Mhm.
don't have to
those are cool.
if you don't have to if it's taped, you can catch up through the highlights, which is that's the nice thing. And it works real well with baseballs, like sort of better than any other sport, like basketball or football doesn't work as well, but baseball it works well. But I definitely know what you're saying though, Chris, with Hulu, there's always like some sort of thing, some sort of lag. Because like today when I was watching, I wasn't even watching today. I was listening actually on MLB TV because I was working at the same time. I was listening to the broadcast on ESPN with Len Casper and them, and I'm less than a mile from the rate, so. They was doing the call, and he's like you wind up pitch, but before the pitch had got there, I was hearing the fireworks already. So I was like, oh, they must, Hendricks must have struck him out. So it was a short tail side there. So that's how the lag was there. But yeah,
No, yeah,
that's one of the benefits though of being right next to the rate.
yeah, I was gonna say with that too, like the Marquee Sports Network app also is the same way. Like it also has to be like 10 seconds behind. And the thing is, because I'm always talking to buddies like while the game's going on, and I've had so many times, like maybe the past couple of years, of them ruining stuff for me because they'll have like cable and it's like wait, they're 7 seconds ahead and they'll ruin a home run or whatever. So I always have my phone on silent during Cubs games now because I'm like, I'm not gonna go through it. But it's a good point because it does make a difference when you're like watching a game and and if you live closer to the stadium like you, Kyle, like that would be annoying.
Shout out to Marquee. Chris got his WNBA hoodie on. They struck a deal with the Chicago Sky, so they're gonna be broadcasting a slew of their games this season.
I'm so happy about that,
Chris?
Still. I'm halfway, and not just because it's a Cubs corporation, not a satellite. I can't think of the right word, but an offshoot, so to speak. It's very good for more people to be able to watch games on what is in this day and age what we call a terrestrial station, I guess, and it helps expand. So Cubs fans who might not know about basketball or might not watch basketball like that, or just like I want more sports to watch in the summertime. Oh man, there's a Sky game coming up. Oh, I just heard that they won the championship last year. Let me check that out. And that's dope. Honestly, I will say this. I think that over my lifetime, I found Cubs fans to be more liberal, left-leaning. So I would expect them to be cool, to be like more interested in watching women's professional basketball. So that in itself is fire. I mean, everybody should watch, but I expect them to be more receptive to it. But I think it also kind of brings to what we were just talking about, having to get another streaming service to watch these games. That's why, even though I couldn't watch on Hulu, I'm happy and still happy that Sky Games are on WCIU. So for the few people who still have the digital antenna, you can count on watching those games. Like people who, like I don't know if you grew up with the same, but we had network, we had the antenna. That was it. So we got the Bulls games on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Sox games are on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And I grew up with the radio. That was my window to the sports world, was the AM dial. So I really think, even if the radio isn't as big as it was when we were younger and when our parents were, in their prime, I really want the Sky to get back on the radio more than having them on marquee. Even if it's a visual medium and that's what we live by, I still think there's something to be said for good sports broadcast on the radio. They were on WVON at one point. If another Chicago radio station can pick that up, that would be great, because even in the world we live in now, there might be some people who still can't afford a consistent live Hulu subscription. So as good as it is to get that out there, you're having people pay for another streaming service like we talked about, but you're still not reaching everybody you possibly can. So I think having something that is free to everybody, getting them on the radio station would be even better than getting them on another pay-to-play network.
And I bigged up YouTube, but Marquee isn't on YouTube. So I've been short on Cubs games throughout the past couple of years now, and it's the same for anybody else who was on there who's dealing with that, or whatever. You're not gonna be able to. That's been an issue since its inception with Marquee, but it's like I definitely agree with what you say as far as the WNBA and the spreading and the legitimizing of the sport. It definitely helps with that, and I like the idea. I forgot about WVON. I think WVON should have a black version for every sport, like a black broadcast for every sport.
Hey,
it's just just for us, that'd be dope. But anyway, we gonna wrap it up, man. I really appreciate you guys, and of course, I would hate to wrap up this show without speaking specifically about at bat and letting Saul. Because Saul's been plugging it all show, of course, with the logo. But Saul, speak a little bit about the show for those who haven't listened to it yet. And, of course, you got your co-host, Miles Porter. I was hoping he could join us, but he couldn't join us today. Mm-hmm. But we'll try to get him on another WARR broadcast coming up. But, just let people in on the show and when does it premiere each week, and what's it about and everything.
No, yeah. Like I said before too, before we started, appreciate you putting me on the show and having me hosted along with Miles. But yeah, it's we cover obviously Chicago baseball. We talk Cubs and White Sox thoroughly both, and it's been a fun show so far. I think having Miles' knowledge as a baseball player, he plays a semi-pro baseball in Milwaukee, and then he also plays overseas in Israel. So it's cool. I think he also told me, I don't know if we've talked about this in the show, but he was training with Israel a few weeks ago, and he was even playing catch with Ian Kinsler, who played many years in the big leagues. So so that's somebody that I've even said, I'm like, Miles, maybe eventually we can get him as a guest or something. So. But no, yeah, we also cover anything around, the big leagues, anything, any controversies. I know this week we'll be talking a little bit about, is this the new dead ball, era type thing going on right now? It's what it feels like because the offense is down and just how pitchers are having a problem with that. I know Chris Bassett from the Mets had some comments. We have a new episode every Wednesday, like you said, on every platform. So, yeah, hopefully you'll give it a listen if you haven't yet.
And Chris, man, like I said, your family with us. You also do a lot with James, your man James K, with the Skyhook podcast, and it's coming up now this week. WNBA starts off. We're going to have a special edition of Running with WARR show on Thursday. We're going to preview the WNBA season. With the championship here in Chicago. The All-Star Weekend is going to be this year. Going to be here in Chicago this year. There's a lot of exciting things going on with women's basketball here in Chicago and throughout the nation. But Chris, just let people know how to follow your work and everything from the Skyhook and everything beyond that.
Well, you can always find me on Twitter at Quandary Kitten. That's at KWANDARY Kitten. Thank you, as Kyle, you pointed out, the Skyhook podcast as well, at the Skyhook Pod on Twitter. James just changed the name. James is the inside man. I'm going to say it here because I said it on our Twitter space the other day. James, I swear James Wade is grooming James K to be on the coaching staff because James always says he was talking to James Wade, the other day, and I know he's got the seat, but I'm ribbing him a bit. But yeah, the season starts for the Sky this Friday, May 6th. Is ring night at Wintrust, and the 2022 WNBA All-Star Game will be played in Chicago for the first time ever. So get out there. That's all I can really say. Get out there for that. And you can also catch my own podcast on anchor.fm/What's Good Radio 1. It is What's Good Radio, where I speak with people, talk to them about what they do, their life, and what they find good about it, because I think that especially in these days, can all use a little bit more of that, finding what's good in what we do and what about it. I know this isn't the end of the show, but just wanted to say to everybody with the news coming through, talk to your people, support them, and support the right to free and fair abortions for women, please.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Chris, for that message and for everything else, man. Saul, appreciate you, man. Really, like I say, look forward to more with that bat and everything. Should have a real fun summer covering the game of baseball with you guys. So yeah, that's it for now, man. Of course, me on Twitter. You can follow me at Means Matters, and also I'm the man behind the scenes with WARR Media. So if you inbox WARR Media, you're likely talking to me. So, if you got any business, holler at us. If you want to do a show, Saul can tell you, man, it don't take much. If you got a show, we'll run it in most cases. So, holler at us. But till the end, like I said, we got a nice week coming up. We actually, like I said, we have the special WNBA show running on Thursday. We're gonna have another show prior to that on Tuesday. More of a conventional show. We still haven't sent the Bulls off yet. Before they on their 1, 2, 3 Cancun trip. Yet we say we're gonna do our post-mortem for the Bulls tomorrow, as well as catch up on the rest of the NBA playoff scene and everything. And salute, go give a salute to. Well, maybe we'll do that on Thursday, but definitely the retirement of Vivian Stringer. Definitely is a big basketball story as well going on right now. Definitely big ups to her. But we'll definitely salute her either on Tuesday or Thursday, maybe probably both shows this week. And but like I say, that's Running with WARR at bat. As Saul said, you can that'll premiere once again on Wednesday. We also got Second City Sports and the that Davis show, and of course Josh with In the Scope. So we got plenty of good programming for y'all every week. So definitely keep up with us. Follow us at WARR Media, all the major platforms. WARR Media, search on YouTube. You can get informed whenever we go live on YouTube as well. So make sure you do that and keep yourself informed and keep yourself aware. Till next time, though, y'all. We'll that's it for now. Keep I don't know how to say this off. I don't know. We just keep
bouncing.
Keep on keeping. I try to keep that for running.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just stay in the box. Keep
moving forward.
Keep yourself square up and stay in the box and keep your heads up, y'all, and keep aware. And we'll talk to y'all later.